Welcome to today's Living Word with Pastor Arlene.
Let's look at Numbers chapter 14, verse 1. So they believed the evil report. Instead of what Joshua and Caleb said, they believed what the other 10 said. They were swayed by the evil report. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried. This is something that happens when you're believing the wrong report. Now remember last week we talked about no condemnation, that we're to cast down that condemnation, not to let condemning words come against us. Well, when you allow them to come in, what happens? Number one, you cry. Can you imagine this whole congregation, it says cried, million plus people, all crying at once. And the people wept that night. Verse 2, and the children of Israel murmured. This is what happens when you don't believe the promise of God and you believe the wrong report. You start murmuring and complaining. They murmured against Moses and against Aaron. The whole congregation said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt. I know people that have started out in faith, started out and they just go, I wish we had never started this. I wish there was something else. So you end up murmuring and complaining and blaming God. And would God that we had died. They figured it was better to die than to believe God for the promise. And wherefore hath God brought us into this land to fall by the sword? Now they're looking at the evil report, looking at the negative. That our wives and our children should be a prey. Were it better for us to return into Egypt? People have started out in faith and believing God, and sometimes they just want to give up on God. Would have been better if we just stayed sick and died. We just want to go back. Just think of what it was like for them in Egypt, the hardship. And they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return to Egypt. They do not want to follow the man of God. They don't want to follow the word of God. What is this? Independence from God. Let's do it our way instead of God's way. That's what happened to Adam and Eve in the garden. They wanted independence from God. And the children of Israel ended up dying in the wilderness because that's what they believed for. That's what they wanted. They didn't want to stay following God and be dependent on Him. Thank you for joining us today.